You are holding a screaming infant in the middle of the night. The sound pierces your eardrums. You rock, you bounce, and you shush, but the crying only gets louder. It is completely exhausting. Does this scenario feel familiar? For 99% of human history, this wasn't just a frustrating midnight disruption. This was a direct beacon to every apex predator within a 5-mile radius. Today, a crying baby means a tired parent and a warm bottle. But for our ancient ancestors, a crying baby in the dark meant instant, brutal death. Human babies are completely and uniquely helpless. A newborn horse can stand and run within hours of taking its first breath. A human newborn cannot even hold up its own massive, heavy head. They are born months before they are truly ready to face the world. This is the biological penalty of our evolution. When our ancestors stood upright, walking on two legs narrowed the human pelvis. At the exact same time, our brains began expanding to massive proportions. To survive birth at all, human infants had to be born in a highly premature, fetal state compared to every other mammal on Earth. They are entirely dependent on you for survival. So, how did a species with the loudest, most helpless infants survive on a prehistoric savanna crawling with saber-toothed cats, dire wolves, and giant hyenas? You might think they hid in deep caves. You might think they built massive wooden walls. They did not. They survived by engineering a system of absolute biological silence. To understand this system, look at modern hunter-gatherer societies. In the 1960s and 70s, medical anthropologist Melvin Konner lived among the Jew-Hawansi people of the Kalahari Desert. He went there to study their daily routines, their diets, and their social structures. But he quickly observed something completely shocking about their babies. They almost never cried. Konner noted that infant crying was practically non-existent in the camp. When it did happen, it lasted for an average of only a few seconds. Why? Because the mothers engaged in constant skin-to-skin physical contact. The babies were not left in cribs. They were not set down on soft piles of animal skins while the mother worked. They were carried in a leather sling, positioned upright on the mother's hip or back, feeling every single movement she made. If the baby even stirred, whimpered, or frowned, they were fed instantly. There was no schedule, there was no concept of letting a child cry it out. The babies nursed dozens of times a day, often for just a minute or two at a time. The moment distress registered on the infant's face, the biological alarm was deactivated with instant warmth and food. The silence of the infant was guaranteed by the sheer, overwhelming volume of physical attention. But this raises a massive question. How could a mother possibly carry a baby 24 hours a day and still forage for food, skin hides, and survive the grueling prehistoric world? She did not do it alone. Evolutionary anthropologist Sarah Blaffer-Hrdy spent years studying the social webs of early humans to answer this exact mystery. She proposed the groundbreaking concept of alloparenting. This simply means other parents. In ancient tribes, a baby was not raised by two exhausted people locked alone inside an isolated cave. It was held by grandmothers, aunts, older siblings, and even entirely unrelated tribe members. When the mother needed to dig for heavy tubers or butcher a carcass, the baby was passed to someone else. The infant was constantly enveloped in a human shield of warmth, heartbeat, and movement. The baby was passed from hip to hip, shoulder to shoulder. Hrdy's research proved that this immense social web was not just a cultural preference, it was an absolute evolutionary necessity. Without the tribe sharing the physical burden of the child, the infant would cry. If the infant cried, the predators would hear. If the predators heard, the entire group would be slaughtered. Silence was a communal effort. But what actually happens inside a baby's body when they are picked up and held by the tribe? Is it just psychological comfort? It is much deeper than that. Evolutionary biologist Kumi Kuroda at the Riken Brain Science Institute in Japan studied the mammalian transport response. She placed tiny heart rate monitors on infants and watched what happened the exact second their mothers picked them up and started walking. The results were immediate and dramatic. The moment the mother stood up and moved, the baby's heart rate rapidly plummeted. Their tense muscles entirely relaxed. Their crying stopped involuntarily. This is not a learned behavior. It is a hardwired, involuntary survival reflex shared by mice, dogs, cats, and humans. When a mother cat grabs her kitten by the scruff of the neck to move them to a new den, the kitten goes entirely limp and silent. They do this so they do not attract attention while vulnerable in the open. In humans, the grip is not on the scruff of the neck. The grip is the tight embrace of a parent's arms against their chest. When you walk with a baby, their nervous system shuts down the panic alarm. A baby being carried knows it is safe in the motion of the adult. A baby set down alone feels like it has been abandoned to the wolves. Literally. Do you see why your baby hates lying flat in a silent, unmoving room? Let's reconstruct a night on the prehistoric African savanna roughly 100,000 years ago. The fire is dying down to glowing red embers, casting long shadows against the rocks. The darkness beyond the edge of your camp is absolute and terrifying. You hear the deep, bone-rattling cough of a massive feline out in the tall, dry grass. Dinofelis, the false saber-toothed cat, specifically hunts primates in the dark. Your baby stirs against your chest, a sharp, sudden intake of breath. It is the immediate prelude to a scream. Before the sound can even escape their lips, your hand is already pressing against their back. You pull them tighter against your bare skin. You stand up and begin a slow, rhythmic bounce, pacing the edge of the firelight. The baby smells your sweat. They feel the heavy, familiar thud of your heart. They feel the rocking motion of your steps. The transport response instantly engages. Their heart rate drops. Their breath slows into a gentle rhythm. They exhale quietly and close their eyes. Out in the darkness, the predator pauses, listening to the wind. It hears only the crackle of the embers. It walks right past the camp, completely unaware of the soft, silent meal hiding just feet away. Here is the counterintuitive twist that changes everything you have been told about parenting. We think crying is a baby's natural, default state. We are told that babies are just inherently loud, fussy, and demanding. They are not. Crying is an emergency alarm. It is a biological panic button that is only pressed when the primary defenses of constant touch and instant feeding have completely failed. Crying is not a hobby for an infant. It is a desperate plea for survival. The agricultural revolution completely shattered this delicate biological balance. When humans settled down, built permanent wooden houses, and surrounded themselves with walls, the immediate threat of predators vanished. Babies could suddenly be put down in a woven basket. The absolute life-or-death urgency of infant silence disappeared. We invented the crib. We invented the stroller. We invented the separate nursery down the hall. We invented the entirely modern concept of infant independence. We started trying to teach babies to soothe themselves. Look at a modern parent today. You are pacing the hallway at 3 in the morning. You are bouncing, shushing, and desperately trying to quiet a screaming child while staring at the clock on your phone. Society tells you to put the baby down. Society tells you that you are spoiling them if you hold them too much. The parenting books tell you they need to learn to self-soothe in their perfectly decorated, quiet, dark room. But the baby's DNA does not know about the heavy, locked front door. The baby's nervous system does not know about the expensive digital baby monitor on the nightstand. The baby does not know that the saber-toothed cats are all extinct. To the ancient, prehistoric brain operating inside that tiny infant skull, being put down alone in the dark means one absolute, terrifying certainty. A predator is coming to eat them, and they have been left behind. When they scream in the crib, they are not manipulating you. They are begging you to save their life. Every single time you pick up your crying child, you are not failing a modern parenting test. You are fulfilling a 300,000-year-old biological contract. Your arms are the only shield they recognize. Your heartbeat is the only sound that proves they are safe. You are a high-performance survival system, perfectly calibrated to keep that infant alive in the most dangerous environments on Earth. You are holding a screaming infant in the middle of the night.